This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Maine introducing the latest book from an author whose career has put him in a number of roles, from small business to the House of Representatives. Please welcome here author Jack Cashman. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me.
I'm going to start off a little bit about yourself. You're formally educated at the University of Maine. I mean, you've really had a diverse career spanning from small business ownership to serving in the House of Representatives, as well as the governor's administration. Did these experiences in business, as well as government, really kind of shape your perspective as a writer, or did you always have these views, even as a younger man?
There's no question that your life experiences have a lot to do. Everybody that writes a book leaves a little bit of themselves in the book, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, and I don't think we can help that. So, yes, I've had a diverse background. I guess the funny thing is trying to figure out something I could do right, but I kind of had one leg in the political arena and one in the business arena most of my life, so I've covered both ends.
Absolutely. I mean, quite a wide variety you've had out there. Your debut novel, An Irish Immigrant Story, is based on your own family's journey from Ireland, really during the potato famine. What was the process of turning your personal history into a compelling historical narrative, and what inspired you to do that?
Well, first of all, I've always had a predilection for history, and my own family history was of interest to me. So I did a book just for my family members, detailing where we came from and how we got here. And as I left my job with the Oligarchy administration, I had some time, and I thought it would make a good story. So that's what inspired me to write the book. A lot of what's in it is personal history, and a lot of it is I have blended real events into stories of fictional characters. So it makes an interesting read. I think it got great reviews and was received very well.
That's excellent. I mean, you mentioned before that your creative mind combines with your background to bring a collection of stories really unlike any author working today. Can you kind of elaborate on that for us? I mean, it's quite a statement.
Self-aggrandizing, no doubt. No, it's I've had a lot of experiences in life and business and political events and so forth. And my goal with my first 5 novels was to write historical novels based on historical facts, but weaving in fictional characters. So it's a combination of my predilection for history and my knowledge of historical events and my imagination bringing in fictional characters and making them exciting to read about.
Excellent. I mean, not only your professional background, but your physical background. I mean, you spent all of your life right there in Maine, really. Does the setting and culture of Maine influence your storytelling?
Well, it does. Maine is it's a beautiful state. It's a state that is great for people who like the outdoors, whether you like hiking, hunting, fishing, whatever it is you like. So there's that, but there's also Maine is a state that is famous for its work ethic amongst its people. And we're hardworking people up here and take pleasure and pride in a good day's work for a day's pay. And that helps shape the types of characters that you write about because they tend to reflect that.
Yeah, I mean, you have served those people there for some time in the past. Before we jump into your latest book on democracy, I mean, really with your number of roles in government, can you share what you think is the biggest misconception people have about public service?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. My experience here in Maine is that the people who serve in the legislature, whatever party they belong to, it doesn't matter. They're dedicated people who want to do what's best for the state of Maine. The idea that local representation would be in there for personal gain, I think I have never seen that here in this state. I'm not sure I believe that's the case in Washington, and I think it was at throughout most of our history. I'm not sure it is anymore. And it seems that people have become distrustful of the federal government, and I can certainly understand why. It seems that the people who serve us in Washington today are more interested in hanging on to their job and the power and money that goes with it than they are in doing what their constituents would like them to do.
I imagine many people would definitely agree with you. I mean, your latest book, Democracy, the Final Nail, it argues that our democracy has really morphed into a functioning oligarchy. What do you see as the single most significant factor in this 40-year decline?
Money. And well, first of all, we've created a situation where we had the largest wealth and income gap in this country today since the Gilded Age. A series of tax changes, starting with the Reagan administration, continuing through George W. Bush, and it was never adjusted significantly by Clinton or Obama or anybody else. We have a tax situation now, and that has created this wealth gap. And then Citizens United came along and allowed unlimited money to go into political campaigns. You just saw, what was it, $300 million one person contributed to the Trump campaign. I mean, that's outrageous that one person can throw that kind of money. And it isn't just the Trump campaign. If you look at the other side, the Harris campaign was funded with outrageous contributions from very wealthy people. And that's what we have now. That's the definition of oligarchy. When you have a small group of very wealthy people calling the shots, that's an oligarchy. And that's what we have. And it isn't just the elected officials. Look at the gifts going to Supreme Court justices, coming from people who have business in front of the court. That's an oligarchy by definition.
I mean, money makes the world go around, but especially in DC. I mean, I wasn't involved in politics until I seen Obama come along, and he got a lot of money out there. I was surprised. I mean, one of the most popular presidents, got quite a bit of money to push him forward, and now we see that again today. Absolutely. I mean, you even warn that really the next logical step from an oligarchy can be an autocracy. What specific signs do you see today that indicate we are moving maybe in that direction?
If you read before the election, if you read Project 2025, it calls for the creation of an autocracy. And you're seeing it unfold today. President Trump came into office and immediately rendered the Congress inept because he declared it an emergency where there really isn't one. And by virtue of the emergency, he took over setting tariffs. The Constitution does not give the president the authority to set tariffs without the consent and the help and the involvement of the Congress, but he's doing it. He's also eliminating agencies like USAID that was established by Congress. And the Congress is sitting on their duff and letting this happen. You had Elon Musk come in and start cutting expenditures that were authorized by Congress. That's not allowed. He's flying in the face of the Constitution daily. And the Congress is letting him do it. And that's where you end up with an autocracy.
Yeah, I've always said if that's not allowed, I mean, how is it happening? And yet we're seeing it, in front of our eyes. You state that the principles of checks. Yeah, I mean, you have stated that the principles really of checks and balances, separation of powers, they've really become irrelevant. Can you kind of give us a specific example of maybe how money has corrupted one or even all three branches of our government?
Well, if you look at the Congress, it's controlled right now by one party. And the administration is very good at threatening members of his own party that if you don't toe the mark, you're going to get a primary. And you have people in the background like Elon Musk saying, if you have a primary, I'm going to make sure that your primary opponent is well financed. The people that serve in the Congress today, on both sides, both parties, all they're concerned about is getting reelected. So those types of threats are very effective in terms of keeping them in line, because they know that if they face a well-financed primary opponent, it's going to be an uphill fight. So that renders the Congress pretty much as not providing the checks that they're supposed to provide. Look at the tariff situation. He
I
can't
mean,
do that. He can't set
obviously, like you
tariffs by
say,
himself, but he's doing it.
who we vote for really matters more than ever. Like you say, the House, everything is controlled by one party. These people put those folks in there. I mean, the final section of your book, I like it, offers steps to return to a government of the people. What is just one of those steps that you believe is the most urgent for Americans to demand from our elected officials?
Money has to come out of the political system. I say in the book that if someone's running for the Senate in Maine, their political contributions should come from Maine, not across the country. Our senator who's up for re-election in 2026 just took a $2 million contribution from a hedge fund operator in New York. And again, she's not alone. This happens daily. The money that is thrown around in political circles today is obscene. And frankly, in past years, it would have been seen as corruption instead of business as usual. Today, it's seen as business as usual because it's been going on for so long, and the Supreme Court has blessed it. Nobody has done any more to cripple democracy in this country than the Roberts Court. They stripped out the key provisions of the Voting Rights Act, which has allowed this constant battle to keep people from voting or to make it harder to vote in this country. And they passed Citizens United, which has allowed the pollution of our political system with money. The Roberts Court should be very proud of what they've done.
I like a step like that. It's a practical step because it's going to affect both sides. Both parties will be affected. And because, I mean, let's face it, no matter who's in there, we always look back and go, I don't like what's happening right now yet. It's always happened before, but now they don't like the results of it, regardless of what side. Your statements, I mean, I would guess many agree with, others would debate. The book's title implies a betrayal of the ideals for which thousands have died for, really. How do you yourself reconcile your patriotism, I mean, with such a critical view of the current state of our government?
It's hard. It's hard to look at what's going on in this country and still be proud of the country you live in. Our founding fathers set this up with checks and balances. They set the tone that elected officials shouldn't be a profession. It should be something you do for a period of time and then you let somebody else do it. Now you see elected officials in Washington, they hang onto the job for dear life, like there's nothing outside of politics. If they lose their seat in Congress, it's the end of the world for them. They should go down and serve the people for a period of time and then find something else to do. That's my opinion. I was never a fan of term limits, but I am now, because something has to change. Something has to let go here that to change what's happening in Washington. And money is the biggest problem, but I think longevity in Congress is another problem. There's an old line from a Bob Dylan song. I noticed that the ceremony of your corrupt ways has finally made you blind. And if you look at people who serve in Congress for an extended period of time, and I don't want to point fingers at anybody individually, and it doesn't matter what party they're in either, you can use that line to describe what they've become.
Yep, wise words. I would say, Jack, what do you hope readers will take away from this book?
I hope it's a wake-up call. I really do, because things have gone from bad to worse since 1980, and they're on a fast track to get a lot worse. And I hope it's a wake-up call to people. The thing in there about, one example for you, Social Security. I don't think many people understand the money that's been taken out of the Social Security system by our elected officials, and it has not been replaced. And it won't be unless there's an outcry from the people. So they come to us and say, we're going to have to extend the retirement age, or we're going to have to cut benefits, or we're going to have to do this. No, you don't. Just pay back the money you stole from the system, and the system will be solvent. And I hope it's a wake-up call for everything that's gone wrong in this country, whether it's Citizens United or the Voting Rights Act being stripped out or Social Security being raided. There's a whole host of, of examples in this book, and I hope it's a wake-up call.
I think it was a Chinese either curse or blessing. I don't know what the saying was, but it basically said that hope that you live in interesting times. Well, we're definitely living in some interesting times right now. Lastly, what advice would you give to someone who is maybe considering pursuing a creative passion like writing and later on in life, like you did? And has this been rewarding and even challenging, sharing your views?
It's both. And I have to do something. I have to be active. And this has been a good outlet for me. It's a creative outlet when you're writing historical novels. And in the case of democracy, it's an outlet to express my frustrations with what has happened to the country I love. And you know, I mentioned in there that people have fought and died. I lost an uncle in World War II, and I had another uncle who was wounded on D-Day. So my family has been active in defending this country. My father served in the Pacific. I have nothing but the greatest respect for veterans who go out every day and serve this country. And what's happened to the country, I think, is an insult to them.
Absolutely. I think in this current month right now, what I see out in public, I think everybody's getting a wake-up call. And like you say, your book itself will maybe clear up some things for folks as well. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is his website. On the website, you can find all of his many books. I mean, from his own family's immigration story to our story of our government today. I mean, you can see them all on Amazon or even Barnes & Noble. You can connect with him on LinkedIn as well to see his next upcoming release he's working on. Once again, that is author Jack Cashman, offering a collection of stories unlike any author working today. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.